Carlos Fortin is a former Deputy Secretary-General of UNCTAD. That's the UN Conference on Trade and Development. He's also Emeritus Fellow at the Institute of Development Studies and joins us from Santiago in Chile. Thank you so much for your time. Donald Trump is framing his action as a war on narco-terrorism. We've just seen this media briefing from the Defense Minister saying that the Army and the Deputy President stand completely behind Maduro. They see it very, very differently. Why do you think Trump has intervened in Venezuela?
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very pleased to be here. As you said, the declared objective of the military action is to stop the flow of illegal drugs from Venezuela into the U.S., particularly of the deadliest of them all, which is fentanyl. Now, that rationale has been disputed in the U.S. itself. It's the Representative Jacobs of California has reported that military officials told members of Congress at a closed-door hearing that there was no fentanyl in the boats that were attacked, and that fentanyl seems to be essentially getting into the U.S. at legal ports and brought by American citizens. A second objective that has been discussed by analysts as a possibility to explain the strike has to do with internal politics. The latest opinion poll in the U.S. Before the strike showed that 54% of Americans disapprove of President Trump, while only 42% are approving. The reason being essentially that of the state of the economy. So the success of the operation evidently is expected to improve the approval rate. But the most credible explanation of the strike, I think, that is the first attempt at putting in practice what is now the basic approach of the Trump administration to foreign policy, and particularly in connection with the Western Hemisphere. As we all know, the administration issued in November 2025 a document on national security strategy for the United States, in which it says that clearly that the objective is to restore American preeminence in the Western Hemisphere. And for that, it goes back to the Monroe Doctrine of 1823 and expands it to the so-called Trump corollary to deny non-hemispheric competitors the ability to own or control strategically vital assets in the hemisphere.
I'm just going to jump in here because it's very uncertain. No one quite knows how America proposes to run Venezuela. Venezuela is saying very clearly our constitution is still in place, everything continues. I'm just wondering about the impact that all of this might have on Venezuela's economy, which we know has been absolutely hammered in recent years. What's your view?
Well, is that it will have an enormous impact. See, the position, as you say, is that there is no clear idea as to what's going to happen now in terms of the government and in terms of the operation of the state apparatus and, for that matter, the Venezuelan society as a whole. This is a big question mark. Trump has said that what this obviously was the undisputed leader of the resistance, Machado, is not the person to run this, you see, because he doesn't have the support and respect to govern the country. So it's not clear what's going to happen there, you see. Obviously, some solution will have to be found as to how the country is going to need to be run and what happens to the sanctions, you see, which obviously one would expect them to be lifted, especially if oil companies can go back to operate in Venezuela. Otherwise, the economy, as you say, which is in this dire strait at the moment, will continue going downwards.
Absolutely. Such an important point you make about those sanctions that America has imposed on the oil industry in Venezuela and how swiftly they might want to lift those now that they're planning to take over. Thank you so much for your time. Very interesting indeed. Carlos Fortin, former Deputy Secretary-General of UNCTAD, which is the UN Conference on Trade